So some crazy, but I would say unsurprising news has just broken in the last few hours, and I think it's really worrisome considering like past events that have kind of gone on and what it could be building towards in the future. As you guys know, tensions with Iran have been they've been pretty sky high for a long time, right? It's been one of the big, I guess, political conflicts that have been going on in the world. Between Iran and the West, it's been just decades upon decades of tension building up, and in recent years, like I said, a lot of events have kind of unfolded that have kind of, I guess, built up a lot of problems. So to kind of give a little bit of backstory, especially in recent years, to kind of, I guess, supplement everything going on here, the country of Iran has been building this nuclear program that they've, made all kinds of different claims about its usage of. Primarily, they say it's supposed to go towards nuclear power, but the West, especially the United States and Israel, are afraid that basically Iran is planning this big nuclear buildup so that they can obtain nuclear weapons and then potentially use them. Obviously, a nuclear-armed Iran, which is one of, I would say, the United States' biggest enemies, is probably not a good idea, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's probably not a good thing to allow to happen, but it wouldn't be the first time. Obviously, Russia and China have nuclear weapons, and so doesn't North Korea, so this would just add them, I guess, onto that list of nuclear-capable states that the US and realistically the West in general kind of have beef with, right? So with this program kind of building up over the last few decades really, and in particular the last few years, a lot of coverage has really come around it considering the Obama era peace treaty / nuclear treaty that was signed that ended up getting torn up by the Trump administration. And if you guys don't remember, earlier this year, the United States pretty much assassinated Qasem Soleimani, I believe his name was. He was one of Iran's top people altogether. Very highly respected military general. They drone striked him, right? I mean, they basically pulled out the 5-kill streak Predator missile and just dropped it on his head, man. Like, they just came out of nowhere, RKO, popped him, he's done. Iran was really mad about that, right? Like, we were actually pretty much on the brink of war with that country in the immediate hours after that unfolded. I mean, I remember sitting there watching the TV and they're talking about how, US troops in the Middle East are basically on standby. They weren't sure how Iran was going to respond. They didn't know what was going on. And basically at that time, I mean, that was probably the closest we've been to a full-scale conflict like World War III breaking out that we've been in a long time. So another kind of event like that unfolded today, as of just a few hours ago here as I'm reading. An Iranian nuclear scientist that Western countries basically called the leader of the Islamic Republic's disbanded military nuclear program. They've claimed that he's basically, he's one of the greatest, I guess, at this, right? He's one of the highest up in this entire nuclear program that has supposedly been, I guess, disabled here, but he was killed Friday in an ambush, and this was pretty crazy news, right? I mean, I don't think I expected to wake up to this. You probably didn't expect to wake up to anything like this. But this is pretty major news for a lot of different reasons, okay? Now, to kind of get into the details here, obviously, killing this guy risks a lot of tensions, right? Because you already know who they're going to blame for this. The United States and Israel are the first two suspects on the list, and Iran actually, their top diplomat already put out a tweet basically decrying Israel and blaming them for the attack. He didn't go as far as to say like Israel did it, but he went on to claim that it bore serious indications of an Israeli role. So that wouldn't be too surprising. Israel has actually been accused of doing this several times in the past. Several Iranian nuclear scientists around a decade ago, just got killed. So this wouldn't be totally anything new if Israel and the United States were behind this. So Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif basically also blamed Israel and called the killing an act of state terror. He was quoted as saying, "Terrorists murdered an eminent Iranian scientist today. This cowardice with serious indications of an Israeli role show desperate warmongering of perpetrators." And it's basically causing a pretty big outcry in Iran, obviously, right? I mean, when one of your top nuclear scientists gets smoked like that, obviously you're going to definitely want to have to say something or maybe even do something. You can't blame them for being mad. But Hossein Degan, which is an advisor to the Iranian supreme leader and presidential candidate in the 2021 election, also blamed Israel and was quoted as saying, "In the last days of their gambling allies' political life, the Zionists seek to intensify and increase pressure on Iran to wage a full-blown war. We will descend like lightning on the killers of this oppressed martyr, and we will make them regret their actions." Now, this is all coming just days before the 10-year anniversary of the killing of Iranian nuclear scientist Majid Shahiriri, I think is his name, which was also blamed on Israel. And on top of that, other targeted killings happened around that time. And then, other, I guess, altercations have occurred. One of them that a lot of people have pointed back to is the Stuxnet virus, which was a computer virus released across Iranian infrastructure that destroyed centrifuges and all kinds of things. It's believed basically to be a product of both the Israeli and Americans. Now, according to the details around this story, this all happened in the village of Absard, which is east of the capital Tehran. According to Iranian state television, an old truck with explosives hidden under a load of wood blew up near a sedan that was carrying this scientist. And as the sedan stopped after the explosion, at least 5 different gunmen emerged and raked the car with rapid fire. The scientist died at a hospital after doctors and paramedics could not revive him, and other people wounded included the bodyguards that were supposed to be protecting the slain scientist. Photos and videos shared online obviously can't be shown in this video. It did end up showing a Nissan sedan that was just completely riddled with bullet holes in the windshield, and there was blood pooled all over the road. It's very clear that something happened, obviously. As of right now, nobody has claimed any responsibility for this, but I mean, let's keep it a $1.50, right? What 2 countries, does Iran beef with the most, okay? You think of that. It's like, yeah, the USA and Israel, right? Now, what 2 countries easily have the capability to pull something like this off and get away with it, right? Well, yeah, I'd say the USA and Israel are pretty high up on that list, okay? What 2 countries are friends, right? What 2 countries really like each other? And their policies of the Middle East basically revolve around one another, the USA and Israel. What 2 countries have extremely sophisticated intelligence agencies and the ability to pull off covert operations like this on a grand scale? USA and Israel. And then you figure the fact that, like, the United States literally, like I said, they killed this dude earlier this year. They hit him. They sniped him with a missile. And at this point, bro, it's like you think about it and it's like I can't think of anyone else who would do this. Like, it's the US, Israel, and maybe Saudi Arabia that are involved in this. I mean, as an American, like, you know, right? You know that something is up. The US has the ability to basically commit espionage and understand what's happening in any country around the world. If they weren't directly responsible for it, they at least knew that this was going to happen. If Israel or somebody pulled this off by themselves, you know that the US government knew. The CIA had an 80-page report on it. The president probably knew about it. Like, this was something that was going on, and people knew. And that's if the United States wasn't also directly responsible for this. Would I be surprised if the CIA was playing IRL Battle Royale in Iran and was like, yo, we got an enemy 240, and they just went ahead and pulled up on him, you know what I'm saying, and dropped him, made him go to the gulag? No, of course, I would not be surprised if something like that happened. In fact, if I'm a betting man and I'm in Vegas, I'm putting 90% of my fucking money on the fact that that occurred, that the United States was involved. And at the bare minimum, Israel. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a risky situation, though, because of a lot of different factors. Number one, obviously, this can lead to escalated tensions, which could lead to a full-blown conflict in the Middle East. And, well, as someone who's 20 years old, I'm kind of tired of that shit. I'm kind of tired of there constantly being war in the Middle East that the United States is involved in. I mean, 9/11 happened like a year and a half after I was born almost. So it's like, my whole life, basically, the foreign policy of the United States has been, what can we blow up in the Middle East today? You know what I'm saying? It's like, I get kind of tired of this shit, but at the end of the day, like, you realize the threat, right, that this Iranian scientist and his boys really hold, right? Because Iran's not going to play nice with nuclear technology. It just will not happen. Like, they literally call for death to America and all kinds of other things. So the tensions are already high, and this is just going to escalate them more because they're already blaming Israel, which in turn means that they're pretty much blaming the United States because Israel and the US are such close allies. But on top of that, you also have to consider the fact that we're going through a presidential transition in which their foreign policies around Iran are probably going to be vastly different. Trump was very hands-on with the whole Iran thing. He did not trust them whatsoever. He was not really interested in maintaining any sort of treaty or negotiation or peace with them. He was all about some fuck your homie, he dead kind of stuff. He was dropping missiles on their boy. That was the kind of foreign policy Trump was about, you know what I'm saying? Bomb him, knock the dude out, fly the American flag, call it a day, dog. But Biden it seems a little bit different. Obviously, under the Obama administration is when they went through this nuclear pact or whatever with Iran. And it seems like he's going to probably be a little bit more lax with this whole thing, and he's going to try to be a little bit more diplomatic instead of, dropping a fucking missile on your boy. in a way, the best diplomacy sometimes is just dropping a bomb on your boy. You know what I'm saying? Like, if there is no way of coming through with peace, like, you know, sometimes people get bombed. But at the end of the day, man, like, it's a dangerous situation because we really don't know what the aftermath of this is going to be. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're brand new around here on the channel, follow me over on Twitter and Twitch at @SubToOptimus. Make sure to check out Shop Opti down below. Thank you to my channel members, and your support helps my channel tremendously. And with that being said, until my next video, guys, this is Optimus, well, watching this happen, and signing out.